What's up, everybody? Welcome to the No Scrubs Allowed podcast. We're one day behind again, but again, we have reasons. Seal is up in Pittsburgh area, at least. How are you doing, buddy?
I am very cold. This is the episode I should have unveiled my Red Wings jersey. I'm pretty
Right.
cold right now. I have a little window behind me. I thought I was going to be able to show off the flurries, but they've stopped. Like, even though it's dark, you were still able to see them
Oh, you
smash
could see
against
out
the
of it.
window.
Nice.
Yeah, it's cool, but the flurries have stopped finally for the day. But yeah, I only fell twice on the ice. Um, we only lost control for about half a second on the roads so far. So great trip, great trip. This is the worst winter weather of the season so far for the Northerners,
Right.
and I'm glad I could be here with them and helping baby girl's brother move. It was
Yeah, they
successful.
said something on the news about I think it was like 50 or 60 cities in America had record lows this morning. I don't know if it was up north or where, but
Yeah, everywhere pretty much. I'm not here too much last week. Well, I was checking on Cleveland, but it could have been here. It was 18 degrees, I believe, when we woke up.
ooh,
22
boy.
degrees when we were out and about. But it's not. That's why I'm kind of scared. When we come back, I do want to spend a night in Cleveland and kind of hang out around there for obvious reasons. But they're right on that big ass lake, dude. So the humidity is way different than it is here in Pittsburgh. I mean, there's rivers and stuff here, but for some reason, the cold isn't like getting in my bones and stuff. So
It's that dry cold,
it's not
bro.
as
Just
yeah,
like
it's
the
not as
dry
bad
heat.
as I thought it would be, but it's just the snow and the slush and the extra stuff that comes with the cold that really makes it miserable. And I am more than ready to get back home to Florida.
I bet. Well, you had your Red Wings jersey on last time to represent your shitty Red Wings team. Well, I decided
Yeah.
today to continue to rep that shitty Red Wings team because hockey, along with basketball, is one of the only things kind of going on right now. So I pulled out my Red Wings hat that does not, I don't think it's ever gotten low on the podcast yet. It gets love every now and then, but nobody in California cares about hockey either. But I wear it when I'm wearing red, and I'm still sporting Tampa Bay because we're the champs. So I figured I'd roll with it. But we'll start out the podcast with shout outs as always. And Bubba Wallace, your guy, you're wearing a shirt. Look at that. I see the things.
Yeah.
He became the first Black American or Black person driver ever to lead a lap at the Daytona 500. And I know the podcast, we don't talk about NASCAR all that much, but me and Sil both grew up watching NASCAR. Sil's dad was a huge
Oh
NASCAR
yeah.
fan. And my dad was just because we lived in Palaca, the general NASCAR fan. But we watched a lot of it growing up, and this was actually it ended up being a good race because of a bad reason. But Bubba Wallace got to lead a lap, and then the final was pretty crazy. There was a big wreck that the favorites or two of the favorites kind of got in a wreck with each other almost, and then Mike McDowell got to fly through
Yeah,
and
I
win.
watched that. I watched the replay of that, and I didn't really look into it too much. I didn't see any expert opinions about it, but I'm pretty sure that Mike McDowell dude shoved oh
He caused
number
that shit.
Brad Keselowski or
Brad
whatever his name
Keselowski,
is
yeah.
right into Kyle Busch, which made all that occur, and he ended up with his first victory ever. And yeah, man, the Daytona 500, if you are just a casual NASCAR fan, is usually one that you tune into or you watch the
It's the
highlights
Super
of.
Bowl for
It's
NASCAR
and it's
essentially.
the first race of the season,
Right.
and it's usually the craziest outside of Talladega. Talladega can either have the most boring last 3 or 4 laps of the season or some of the most exciting. And in Daytona, they definitely do. I heard the announcer when I was watching the clips back. He said in 20% of all Daytona 500 races, the last lap has or the last 2 laps, there's been a lead change. So if you're leading with 3 laps to go, 20% of the time you're not going to win. And that was the case again, which was a crazy wreck. That number 2 car, Brad
Keselowski,
Keselowski,
yeah.
was just smashed up. There was no back end. I mean, those cars are all fiber anyways, trying to get as fast as they can be, but there was no back end. There was barely a front end. It was crazy. The M&M car went airborne over the car on fire. It was insane to see. It was fun to watch back, and that dude's spirits and his energy just to get that win were really really cool to see.
Yeah, it's tough because you never want to be the cause of a wreck, and you can get black flag for it and all that other stuff, which is above our listeners because I'm sure they're not NASCAR fans. But But for him to get that win, it's really cool. And like you said, the Daytona 500 is not only is it a lot of lead changes, you see a lot of pretty crazy wrecks. And of course, we all remember Dale Earnhardt. That's how these endings can go. And I'm just happy that this fiery crash didn't lead to another one of those. The cars are getting better and better. And that's a shout out to NASCAR and the car makers as well, that didn't end up. But if you are a casual fan, this is the one to watch.
Where that wreck happened was pretty much identical to where Dale Earnhardt was in pretty much that same scenario of being down on the curtain and just shooting right up into the wall like that. It was pretty scary, but yeah, they've done crazy things. Right after that, they made them do the hood flaps on the top to try to slow down the momentum. But yeah, every year they seem to come out with something new.
Yeah, so that's a shout out as well to NASCAR to just continue to have those things, because I've never driven 200 miles an hour in a car. I can't even imagine, but I hitting a wall at 200 miles an hour would be the scariest thing in existence. And these cars are able to keep people alive at this point. So that's huge. But a shout out to McDowell. Good win. That's his first ever NASCAR win, right? So
yeah.
Hey, however you got to get some confidence and get going. But
yeah, the only way I think I'll ever experience anything like that is if I rent or purchase a Tesla and just on full battery mode, just pump the gas and get up to whatever it gets up to in 5 seconds.
It gets around 200. I don't know if it gets NASCAR levels, but I think it gets like 170 or 180.
Yeah, that's
total.
Crazy.
Not in 2 seconds, but as its top speed, I think.
Well, it gets up to like 60 and 2.8 or something ridiculous on a full battery.
But I think it can go like 170 or close to it. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, but just to feel that initial,
just the power, get sat back to the back seat.
Feel them G's.
Right. So we don't really have a lot to talk about. We might end up with a slightly shorter podcast, but I want to start out with another thing that's just going to kind of throw Seal for a curve because he's not the biggest fan. And that's the Australian Open. Of course, me and our old partner, Eddie, has been watching a lot of the Australian Open. And it sucks because the matches start at anywhere between midnight and 2 a.m. And I usually try, if you're on the East Coast, it works perfectly because you can wake up about 5 a.m., which doesn't work for Seal, but you can wake up about 5 a.m. and catch the end of a good match. I have to either try to stay up until 2 a.m. or wake up at like 3 or so, which is tough for me.
Yeah, what somebody like me would do is just stay up until 3 or 4 watching it and just wake up to figure out who the hell ended up winning it.
I try to schedule my sleep. So I'll try to sleep at like 9 or 9:30 and then wake up at like 3 in the morning, watch the end of it, then catch a secondary like nap thing to wake up in time for work. But it's pretty tough. But anyway, the number 1 seed, the homegrown Ashley Barty, this is in women's tennis, just went down. And I think it's the quarterfinals. I think it was the quarterfinals, just went down. And that kind of sucks because she's been dominating. And she just finally got to come home to Australia, and she just got knocked off by like the 24 seed in the quarterfinals. So that's rough on her. I don't know if pressure probably got to her. Playing at home is really tough. We remember that Andy Murray was the last guy to play at home at Wimbledon and get a win. So I'm sure that playing at home is pretty tough, but that sucks for her. But shout out to
spend with the fam.
Yeah, I guess she can go hang out. But on the men's side, Djokovic and Nadal continue to cruise. Nadal plays tonight. You guys will already know the result by the time this comes out. I will be up for it. It starts at 12:30 my time. So at least the start I'll watch. And hopefully Nadal crushes the first couple sets and I can go to sleep and just hope for the best. But they're cruising. And Djokovic, the reason I really wanted to bring this up is Djokovic is getting an easy set, and no fault to him. I'm not trying to rip him or anything, but the number 100, and I think it's 114th ranked player became the lowest seed ever to make the semifinals in a Grand Slam match. So that's the shout out. I'm going to try to find it when you talk. I know you love talking about tennis, but the lowest seed ever to make the semifinals of a US Open turn, or any Open, Grand Slam Open, it is huge. I love it.
Yeah, man. Well, these emotional fucks really make it easy on me nowadays to be able to talk about tennis. And we were talking about before how much of a leash these three superstars have, and nobody else really has at all. It's insane. Serena, she would have gotten dismissed for damaging the court, but no, the Joker, he seemed to be doing his thing and just missed a easy put back or whatever the hell they call a return. Missed an
Yeah.
easy return on the ball and by a mile, and he got pissed and whacked his tennis racket on the court about 7-8 times and damaging the court, which the ump just kind of gave him a little warning as he proceeded to go to his little bench area and throw the shit out of his racket and take his time mashing more rackets, making sure they were beat up enough to go onto the court with him for the next go around. But yeah, just a little subtle warning. Didn't even look at him to see what he was doing down there, at what he was throwing at what. Just wasn't too concerned with it. Was ready to get back to the match, and it's insane to me. Like the way we look at sports and the basketball and the football that we watch mostly, there's not really too many leashes. I mean, with the
Right.
roughing the passer and stuff, it's starting to get more so for the whole league of quarterbacks, but this is nothing I've ever seen, and it gets worse and worse every year, honestly.
Yeah, Djokovic has been a hothead for his entire career, and I can say that freely because my favorite Rafael Nadal is also a hothead, but not quite on Djokovic level. But it's funny because he definitely gets his sponsors money's worth out of his stuff. You know, if you're gonna give him free rackets, he's gonna make sure you earn it. There was also a girl that faced to your point. I think the refs this Australian Open, maybe with no fans, maybe with no pressure like this, they are allowing a lot more because there was a lady that faced off against Serena Williams in the last match. Serena ended up winning, but she had the same kind of thing where she missed a return and she slammed her racket, went and got a second racket and slammed it too, and no penalty, no anything. So I think the refs, just without fans, without people in the stands, are just allowing people to play a little bit more. But yeah, so Djokovic will be playing against Aslan Karatsev from Russia. He's the 114th ranked player. He made it into the Australian Open as a qualifier, which means he had to play his way in. He didn't get in for free like Djokovic and Nadal and those guys. He had to play his way in, and now he's moved his way all the way to the semifinals. So he's the lowest player to ever make a semifinals of a Grand Slam. So shout out to this Aslan guy. I'm sure he's going to get crushed by Djokovic. I hope he doesn't, because I want Nadal to win a championship. But man, that's amazing. What would you imagine yourself in this situation? You probably just qualifying for a Grand Slam tournament is the biggest thing in this dude's career of all time. And now he's won like 4 or 5 straight matches, and he's made it to the semifinals to face the number one guy in the world. What would be going through your head, man?
Is the field not like stacked or something? Like he's ranked number 140, whatever.
114.
Like, where's the top 15 guys?
They're there. He's beating them. So there's
That's
128, I guess, people that make it into the field.
Okay.
Because it's the top 50 make it in automatically, and then everybody else has to qualify in. But it's either 64 or 128, whatever tournament bracket. I think it's 128 to get the tournament started. So it's not super surprising that he's there as 114, but just the fact that he has made it this far, because 114 would start out against a ranked player. So he's been playing a ranked player every single time, every single match up to this point. So that's the really surprising part. Not that he made it necessarily, but
yeah, that's awesome. And you got to think he's going to go into this really no pressure. If he went into any of the other ones, any kind of opposite. So he's just getting in the groove of things. And yeah, that'd be great. Let Nadal get a little bit more distance going. I don't really give a shit about tennis. But I do want to talk about, you mentioned Serena a little bit. Did you see her little camp, her husband and another guy, they were wearing greatest athlete t-shirts
with the female X'd out? Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
If he's into running, I mean, if there is, is the greatest of all time running, she's in it.
I just don't like that comparing sports shit.
Well, that's what they're trying to say, is like, cross out that female. She's just you
Well,
mean
no, yeah,
sports in general.
I feel like she's definitely the greatest tennis player of all time. I
One of
truly
for
feel
sure.
that. Yeah.
She's in the argument.
Like, I mean, just what she was able to do, like in men's, there's usually 2 or 3 people. It was her, and then her sister sometimes would be able to sneak her. Like, it
Yeah,
was
right.
her for a very long time. So I get that with tennis, but you can't imagine if back in the day, if basketball had 4 championships in 1 year, that MJ wouldn't have 20. You know,
Yeah, the only argument you almost have to
Tom
split
Brady
the
would probably have
individual
15.
championships because Tiger is the only one that has that sort of an argument because there's 4 majors in golf. Like I feel like it's the individual sports against the team sports, and you have to separate those out because really it's Tiger versus Serena and then Roger Federer and Rafa Nadal. I don't know of any other. I guess you can go to Jack Nicklaus in the old days of golf, but Tiger. It's so sad because Tiger has that caveat of if he had never gotten caught, and obviously he did, and obviously the past is history. But if he would have been on the top of his game and never gotten caught, never gotten in that car wreck, gotten the back injuries, all those things, he would be far and away the man. But
Oh,
for
absolutely.
people that listen to team sports, it's the Derrick Rose argument, right? Derrick Rose was an MVP, the youngest MVP, surefire Hall of Famer, and then got hurt. And it's that argument for Tiger Woods as well. And he still ended up being the greatest, whereas Derrick Rose is not quite. Derrick Rose is an argument for the Hall of Fame, but Serena is up there with those guys without a doubt, for sure.
Yeah.
And now she's had a kid. Now she's coming back from having a kid, which is something men don't have to deal with. And she seems to be back on par. By the time you guys watch this, she'll have been, I think she will have played Naomi Osaka, or she'll be playing if you play this as soon as it comes out. If you're listening, go ahead and turn it to ESPN. She'll be playing Naomi Osaka. And that's going to be a big match because she's the best American seed. So it's going to be pretty fun.
Lots of fun.
All right. Well, Sil doesn't love individual sports as much. Sil loves team sports. I love individual sports. I want Rafa Nadal to win.
I like fighting.
That's true. That's
And,
an individual sport.
Wow.
Did you watch the fights this last weekend with Kamaru Usman?
I looked at a little bit of recaps, man, but dude, he's the truth.
He's too good, dude.
He's
like
the
other
truth.
guy.
I wanted Burns. I like Burns a lot.
He's good.
He's a great dude too.
He's really good, and he looked good dude. In the first round. He landed a solid right on Kamaru Usman that looked. It didn't look like it was going to put him away or anything, but I think Burns might have won the first round just off of that one hit. He had him kind of rattled, but then Usman got to rest, came out, and just started picking him apart. And it was just that jab, which is funny because I don't know if they showed in the highlights, but at the end of round 1, Usman's coach, which coaches never get enough credit in fighting, but Usman's coach said, listen to me, you're the champ because of your jab. You didn't use your jab at all. You need to go out. You need to use your jab. That's the reason you have a belt right now. Go use the jab. And then the second, third round, he just started using the jab, basically knocked him out with the jab. That's what got him to the ground, and then just went on him and finished it. So,
yeah, no, I didn't see that little cut. That's great. Yeah, that's absolutely great. And yeah, you always hear these guys, and I always think it's funny when you have these trainers that don't really speak the same language and they're sitting there repeating the same thing, and you have somebody right beside them. But yeah, they really know their fighters, and a lot of these fighters, it doesn't matter who you are as a person or how many times you've been in that octagon, you're still going to get jitters. You're probably still going to get a little bit of flashes, and half the time everything is going to go out the window for this first 15 seconds until you get your feet underneath you. And sometimes you're going to go up against a Jorge Masvidal and he's going to kill you in 5 seconds because he just knows Ben Askren's going to come in on you.
Right.
But yeah, that's great. But I was excited for Burns to finally get a shot, and yeah, Usman showed why he really is the best in that division. I wasn't able to watch the whole fight. I actually showed up at the bar that me and baby girl work at. I had my pool stick. I was ready to set it up on the ledge, play some pool, had my AirPods, was going to listen and watch the fights, and they were busy as shit, and I had to get behind the bar and help out.
Oh, man. Well, I want to, in that same vein, I want to give a shout out to their coach. So you guys that don't know or that might only listen to UFC every now and then, or maybe just watch the fights, These two guys both train out of Sanford MMA in South Florida near you, and I think on the Gulf side. But they trained out of there, and because they knew that Usman was the champion and Burns was going to have to fight him, Usman ended up leaving and taking a training camp in Florida or in Colorado while Burns stayed in Florida. Their coach, Henry Hooft, obviously one of the greatest of all time. He's a striking coach. He is one of the greatest of all time. He's trained a lot of amazing strikers. He bowed out. He said, listen, I'm not going to be a part of this. I'm not going to be in a corner for any of these guys. I'm not going to do anything. And then after the fight was over, you saw Usman come down and give a high five to Hoof. So he was in the stands. He was watching. Just a shout out to that coach, because I can't imagine how hard it is. He brought both of these people up from the ground, and he didn't get to help either of them in this fight. He just kind of, which shout out to him to remove himself. That's probably a tough decision in and of himself, because he loves both of these guys and he wants to help both of them out. But he understood that he couldn't take sides in this, and he took a step back and watched. But just that's a big decision that I don't know that I could make. I'd want to coach one of them at least, but it's amazing to watch.
Yeah, on the other end, that's probably a great like fatherish moment as well.
Mhm.
You raised these kids, you were their coach all through, and now they're in the championship, and you just can't coach them. That's pretty cool. Like once they're doing travel ball and all that stuff, and then they get to high school and go to the championship, and you're just sitting there watching.
Right.
You probably had a lot of that, more so than any kind of negative. But man, wouldn't that be some shit if one of them did get him and be like, listen, motherfucker, you already know what he's gonna do. I'm gonna tell you in the third round he likes to do this,
Well,
that, and that.
they probably
and
knew what they were going to do, which is, I think that's an advantage to Usman, aside from the fact that he's just the better fighter. But he was the one that left to go to a new team. So he
Yeah.
probably did learn a couple of new things, whereas Burns trained the same way. So Usman probably knew everything that Burns had to throw at him, because you just don't learn anything new in the same camp. And not that that's bad, but you every time you can switch camps, you can learn at least one or two new things. And I think Usman got to benefit from that. So.
Sure.
All right,
It was a nice little card too, from what I was seeing on Twitter.
I
and
heard
stuff.
the undercards were awesome. I didn't show up until the main card, but Joe and DC were talking about the undercards like there were some good stuff. So I might go on ESPN Plus and watch a couple of those to see, because I heard I think the fight of the night was from the undercard, the one that won the bonus.
There's a new ESPN Plus coming out. That
I
came out
knew
on Sunday
like
that I was
a
wanting
30
to
for
see.
30, or what do you?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh.
But it was something on ESPN Plus, because I was like, ooh, gotta use Travis's account.
Nice. But yeah, so I think the fight of the night came from the undercard. So I at least want to go watch that and see what the fight of the night ended up being. But yeah, there were some good fights. The girl fight was pretty good too. I say the girl fight, that sounds really negative, but it was really good too. The fight between the girls. So that was really good. So we're going to take a break, and we are going to talk about our long defunct sponsor that does not care about us anymore. We talk about them when we need space filler because we're running short on time. So we'll talk about them tonight. And that is Manscaped. Yeah. Manscaped is here to help you guys out. They are here to help us practice our advertising reads, because we do not get anything from them, and they do not care that we exist. And yeah, I'm talking shit on you, Manscaped. So if you are listening, send us an email. But anyway, they are here to help us take care of our undercarriage. That's a weird word. But they're here. We got the shavers. We got them for free. I can't talk too much shit on Manscaped. I feel bad. But they're here to help your time go well with your downstairs and with your girl. And they're somewhat our sponsor.
Yeah, they're great stuff. I mean, even you saw my face. I know you weren't meaning Manscaped, but you saw the hair on my face.
No, I said Manscaped because I have bought a second razor for my face.
Oh,
I have two
fancy.
Manscaped razors now. So I did
nice.
say,
so
I
they
did
do
mean
have
to
one
say
for your
it,
face.
No,
yeah,
I have
like,
the ball one, but I use it on my face.
Oh.
I have a second one, and it works perfectly.
Oh, you have two Manscaped ones?
Yeah, so I have my face Manscaped ball razor and my
Why the fuck do you have two of them?
I bought another one just for my face, because fuck shaving with a real ass razor. It works great though.
Yeah.
It works
great. But yeah, when your friends and your partner sees you with hair, they're going to be like, what the fuck you don't have your Manscaped on? You go fix that shit. Why do you have that? But if you're up north, I understand. I would have kept the bush another month if I would have known it was going to be this damn cold. But yeah, Manscaped really is the best thing in the world for your balls. And
And
apparently,
for
if
your
you don't
face.
like
Well,
using
I can't say
razors,
because
I mean, I should probably do that because I have I don't know what it is, and I'm not going to give them credit on this podcast, but I have one for my face, a
right,
separate one, and it's straight. I mean, I don't care about the stubble and stuff, but it's definitely
right.
nothing close to what my downstairs looks like.
Well, I obviously don't shave with the actual like straight blade or the regular razor. And the Manscaped razor, which I did buy a second one of, allows me to trim down. I trim on my lips because I hate when my mustache gets to my lips, and I trim down under my chin. But it's able to do its thing. But from what you can't see is obviously it does well in the bottom also. But if you get that perfect package, they do give you the other things as well. They give you the cream, the ball reviver or crop reviver and crop preserver to let you throw that down there. I went out on a date, of course, for Valentine's Day. As you guys
Hey,
know, I was always the single guy. Steele's been having baby girl for a while, but I went with my girl to some friends of ours, and I decided to use that Manscaped cologne that I brought up on the podcast every now and then. But I used the Manscaped cologne, and she came over to pick me up because I'm a lazy ass and I don't like driving, so she drove. And she came in. Yeah. Yeah. I'm not a gentleman, right? So she came in and she was like, "Whoa, it smells really good in here." And I was like, "Yo, that's me." And she came over and she smelled me and she was like, "Oh, that is you. That's amazing." That was that Manscaped cologne. You don't get that with the perfect package, but you can buy it. I brought it up a couple times. It's worth it. So the smell of all the Manscaped products is what I was trying to get at. Smells really good. It you will get noticed. If you're with your same girl all the time, she might get used to your smell. But if you are a single guy or you're starting to date, it is a good smell, and they do pick it out of a lineup. It's really nice.
for sure. Yeah, and if you want to go on, and the only good thing about us breaking off to tell you about Manscaped is that we have a promo code for you to use and save a little bit of moolah. If
I
you
think it
use
still
no
works.
scrubs, all one word, it should save you 20% off. If it doesn't, then just
Write
do what
us at
everybody else does.
noscrubsports@gmail.com.
Yeah, and then just go on Google and look up Manscaped promo codes
Use
and
the Joe
you'll
Rogan
find them.
code or the whatever you listen to or whatever. They all have codes.
He has enough fucking money.
They
But
all have
yeah.
codes.
But yeah, no scrubs, one word, manscaped.com, and check out, get 20% off. And yeah, their shit's great. But tonight I'm transitioning to basketball a little bit. We had the show off first time this season between Zion and John Moran. Actually, it might be the first one ever because
Yeah, he was
Zion
injured
was hurt.
last time. Yeah.
Yeah. But Zion went the fuck off, dude. Yeah, 13 for 16, 1 for 1 from 3, 31 points, 7 boards, 6 assists. Just took the fuck off. Josh Hart did his thing off the bench, which he's starting to do a lot more.
He's looking good off the bench.
Yeah.
And they're talking about trading a lot of their guys, so he might get a lot more playing time.
Yeah, he's
Which would
looking
be
really good off
huge.
the bench. And John Moran didn't disappoint. He went 12 for 16, 1 from 3 from the 3, 28 points, 7 boards, and 8 assists. But it's just that Grizzly team doesn't really have anything else besides him. And what's that kid's name? Dylan Brooks.
Well, they
Alex
have
Morris
Jaron
is
Jackson
about
Jr., but he's
5
been
years past his
injured
peak.
pretty
He's been
much
injured
this
as
whole
shit.
year.
Yeah, I don't think he's played a game.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the Nets are up 21 at halftime on the Nets.
Well, you just said the Nets both times. The Suns
Oh,
are
the Suns are up
on
21 points on the
Nets.
net.
75 points at halftime. I will gladly take that all day long.
Dude,
But
so the Cavs, 32 points in the first quarter, 32-32 tied, right?
yeah,
32-32 tied. I'm like, let's go. We're going to go toe to toe. Ended up losing by like fucking 30.
ouch.
Yeah, that third
So
quarter, bro.
I wasn't actually looking at us, but I want to look real quick. So yeah, Booker's still doing his thing. So Booker, I think it was you guys that actually set Booker off, and now he is on a little bit of a roll. But what I was going to bring up actually is somebody we don't like to talk about, and that's LeBron James.
Why are we talking about him?
Because hey, we try to give credit where credit is due.
He doesn't get credit. You see that flop the other day? He don't get no credit. Move on.
He is a complainer. He does flop a lot, but this man has been putting up things that 53-year-old or whatever age he is should not be doing. And he put up another 30-point game tonight, 30 points, 13 rebounds, 7 assists without AD because AD again tore his Achilles. And that's really what I want to talk about. So the Lakers now,
Okay, I was about to black my screen until you were done.
now sort of don't have AD. And Stephen A. Smith thinks that AD is essentially done because they don't want another.
He needs to be.
They don't want a KD kind of situation or any of these other guys. If he is done, what does this mean for the Lakers? That's really what I wanted to say. But I did want to shout out LeBron. He did a little bit. He's been doing great in his past. But what do you think of the Lakers without him?
They're still fine. I mean, they're going to have trouble if AD isn't able to come back and he does come back in the post because this injury was caused solely by the team being greedy, the organization being greedy and trying to bring him back before he should have. I mean, every time he came back, he would miss another 3 games for aggravating some shit. And now it's his Achilles. So it seems like they're going to take it a little serious. If I was the Lakers, he sits out until the postseason and you maybe try to bring him back. That's worst case scenarios. Best case scenario. Yeah. Best case scenario. You have 3 weeks until the trade deadline. You go out and get somebody. You don't need LeBron's and that cast has proven they don't need a tier 1 type player. Go and get a Danny Green type player and you'll be able to get it done. Find somebody on that kind of tier, not a Valanciunas. I mean, he's probably better than Danny Green from most people's opinions, but his productivity the last 2 years has been asshole. So I don't think I'd want to go after somebody like that. But Andre Drummond's on the board. He's starting to get a lot of talk from them, and he'd be a great piece for that team who really doesn't have too much bolster down low without AD. Like LeBron would have to be down in that hole a hell of a lot more, which is going to open a lot of perimeter threes because them boys aren't that good. I mean, THT and Caruso and them boys, I forget the
Horton
other.
Tucker's good, bro.
Yeah, but they're not the best on defense, and AD being inside it frees up LeBron a lot, and I feel like they would really want to have somebody to help keep him freed up on defense because he's been doing crazy shit again this year on defense as well, which is because AD is able to just, if anybody goes by LeBron, then he knows he's covered, so he's able to go out and stretch his hands and get them balls and strip them and shit like that. So that's best case scenario. You don't want AD to play again this season. You want him to be able to get a chip without one more minute played in the whole season.
Right. And I mean, we know that they're going to make the playoffs, right? Even without Anthony Davis. They don't need that 1 seed. The 1 seed obviously can help, but it's not a big deal. And somebody that I did see, it's slightly different from Anthony Davis because he's a smaller guy, but he used to play for the Lakers, and he has been on their radar ever since Davis went down, and that's Trevor Ariza. And that would be a guy that could get you through to the playoffs with a high seed, and then you can hope Anthony Davis comes back. Those are the type of guys they need to be looking at. Yeah, I mean, if they can get a Valanciunas type guy, that would be amazing. But if you can even find a Trevor Ariza in the buyout market, if you wait till after the trade deadline and then try to grab a buyout guy, you're going to be able to find those Morris twin type guys.
And now Blake Griffin too. He's going to sit until he's either traded or reaches a buyout. So, I mean, he's up in the air.
If they buy out Blake Griffin and you can grab that guy, I mean, that
would be crazy.
Amazing. So that's what I wanted to bring up. But I think they can still even win the West potentially without him. It would be hard, but they could potentially do it.
The Jazz, you guys, like there's so many good teams that it's going to be so hard to beat in 7 games. Even just more than the usual 3 or 4 in the West. Like there's going to be a good 6-7 teams that is going to be very hard to beat in 7 games.
Yeah. And especially I've been mad about Devin Booker and you mentioned it briefly. We're up 21 at halftime. I've been very upset about Devin Booker, and we played against the Cavs. And I texted Seal. I said, it looks like you guys have woken Devin Booker up. And you said, I wish you could wait one more game. Well, it looks like after that game, he has just been rolling over 30 points, I think, every game since then, which has been, I think, 3 or 4 games. And again, he's on his way to another 30-point game, and we're crushing the Nets. If Devin Booker can play this way, we, of course, have the point guard doing his thing. DeAndre Ayton is starting to figure himself out. He's still not great. He's still not number one pick, amazing, but he's a walking double-double. And if he's the number 3 guy on a team, then it's unbelievable because we didn't expect that when we drafted him. And then Mikal Bridges as well this year has been a most improved season type season for him. I don't think he's on the list, but he's hitting threes at an alarming rate for other teams. And if those 4 guys are doing their thing, then we don't really need the Kaminsky, Crowder, Saric rotating door of starting power forwards that we've been having, which on NBA 2K21, that's Travis Kilpatrick filling that role. It's amazing. But if those 4 guys do their thing, I agree with you. Not as a homer, but we could be very difficult to deal with in the playoffs.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so we're nearing the end of this podcast. It's a shorter podcast, but what sort of things can we talk about? Do you have anything?
Real quick, a little bit more basketball. So there's a couple games that have been postponed. The game with Charlotte and somebody got postponed. So I think it was Denver. So now we're playing Denver on Friday. So they're still switching and postponing and moving games around, but yet they still insist that they're going to do an all-star game. They keep talking and tweaking about it, even though every single player that has talked about it, from the LeBron Jameses to the De'Aaron Foxes, just all these leaders on big market, small market teams.
Even the city that's hosting the all-star game is saying they'd rather not do it. Yeah, and that's a lot of money that the city could be losing.
And the NBA just came out yesterday saying that they're going to try to improvise a dunk contest into this shit.
In the halftime show or whatever.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. There's no I get it. I mean, I work in a bar and the bar's still open, so I mean the NBA still has to operate and it's a business, and the All-Star game brings in a shit ton of money. So I understand that aspect, but at the end of the day, if you pretty much have everybody that's going to be in the All-Star game wanting to boycott but not going to boycott because of that fine, that's pretty shitty on your part as a league. And I'm not to knock Adam Silver. He is the best GM I've ever seen in any sport, but this is when he has to be the Adam Silver that we know and love and come together and do a 2K All-Star game and suck it up until next year.
It's tough, and I'm sure it's tough for them because the bubble lost them a lot of money. They did get a title. They were able to crown people, but they lost a shit ton of money. They've already taken 10 games off the schedule this season, which is going to lose a ton of money. So I understand that they're trying, but I agree with you. They have to just say, listen, we can't do it, man. Do that tournament that we did in the pre-bubble lockdown area where Devin Booker kicked everybody's ass at 2K and took home a championship. Like, whatever. That still probably got a lot of viewers. So you can figure something out. But like you said, every player doesn't want to play it. And something funny that I don't mean to be funny, but it is funny, and it made me laugh, is when Giannis said, well, LeBron has already spoken, so what are we doing?
Exactly.
That cracked me up. But it's true. Like, their best players have already spoken. So what are you doing? Like, I don't know what they're trying to do, but he's trying to get something out of it.
Yeah, it's insane. I'm not here for it. They just need to bite the bullet on it. And I get people like, oh, they make billions of dollars a year. What do you mean they make losing money? I mean, with these guys, if we want the type of product we've been given for the last 5 years, then they need to continue to grow and make more money and be able to expand and get these different science fields and just weird shit that make these players be able to jump fucking 8 feet in the air when they're 35 years old. I mean, no, it's not everybody, but LeBron, just the way people are able to play and the longevity of their careers now and how they're able to perform at such an age. I mean, 5 years ago, Vince Carter was still doing crazy shit. He just fell off in the last couple of years and became a 3-point lazy ass defender. And so, yeah, I mean, you want them to continue to make money, but at the same time, I'm not mad at going back to not having a game 3 times a week on national TV for a year. I'm down to go back to the way things were in the 90s when it wasn't as easily accessible just because you don't have the money for it. I'm down with that. Save the players. I want the players here in 5 years. I don't give a damn about missing 10 games or an all-star game. If we have to suffer a little bit, I'm down for it. But Nobody else is saying that.
Those people with the hands in their wallets are not saying that. It's just the people watching. The last thing I want to bring up is I want to let you talk a lot of good things. Did you see, and I know he's undergoing shoulder surgery on his non-throwing shoulder, but did you see Trevor Lawrence throwing out on his pro day?
I
Just killing
did.
it.
I went to
Oh,
sleep
he looks
very
good.
early that night. We were talking,
Yeah.
and y'all were playing Smite. I was playing some Six Siege, and I think I got off at like what 12:30. I was asleep by 1, dude. I knocked out.
Nice.
Woke up at 9:45. This was the day after we canceled Hulu, so I didn't have ESPN2 or ACC Network, so your boy had to go and steal it. And this was the day my Wi-Fi was messing up, so yeah, I got to watch about 15 minutes of the 25 minutes of the pro day while taking a beautiful bath at 10:30 in the morning on a Monday. It was great. It was absolutely amazing. No, it wasn't Monday. It was a Thursday or Friday, I think. But yeah, and shout out to Trevor. And shout out to those receivers. The only one, that one dude who had like 3 drops. I forget his name now. He played with him. He was the only one that he had played with, and there was like 3 other receivers out there running routes for him. Shout out to those guys. But Urban talked about it a little afterwards, and they talked about the surgery, and he knew it was going to be about a 5-6 month process. So Urban told him like, hey, we need to get this going if you want to be ready by training camp.
Right.
And so they got with Dabo. I mean, Urban and Dabo have a great relationship. So I think that not in and of itself, but that really helped get the pro day. It was what, a 10-day turnaround from announcing to doing it. And shout out Jordan Palmer going out and helping out with all that stuff. And he was supposed to be out there with him in California for 2 months, was only there for like 4 weeks, and he looked lean. So you could tell he's really not putting too much weight on them shoulders. So it's over. I saw a picture of him at post-surgery, making sure he still had his coffee right, he said, or something like that. I'm down with, if you drink coffee, that's better than drinking a lot of soda and getting fat. But yeah, that was my only thing. He looked really slim. He was a slim 213.
But his throws were on point, dude.
Flick of the wrist. That one, it was one of the first last throws. It was like a play action
when he was rolling left,
abandoned play back to the right, and he just flicked that bitch 65 yards in the air, and the receiver even had to tail out more back towards the end zone to go after that ball, and slid down and made a hell of a catch.
That's true. The receivers looked good too. But
yeah, I'm really, really excited. There was one of them, the not Jordan Palmer, but some guy in a white shirt, who was right where the guy was throwing the ball. On one of the red zone plays, he kind of backed up, and Trevor just threw a fucking dime about 3.5 feet over his head, and it dropped in the bucket about 7 feet behind him.
Yeah,
I'm excited as shit. I mean, Blake was able to make some of those throws, but a lot of those throws were underthrown and intercepted when he did it. So to be able to see this guy do it in college at such a level he was able to do it at, and to beat Alabama, to win championships, I'm really, really excited. Really fucking excited.
Yeah, it's funny because this past year in college, it looked like he lost some ground on the rest of the quarterbacks. And then like the senior day and the pro day and everything are just showing why he was the obvious number 1 pick before the season started. So I'm happy for you guys as well.
And you got to look to like Tua's been getting a lot of knock as well, which I don't understand because Jalen had the same receivers and ended up getting benched and whatnot, and he's producing in the NFL. But to have the receivers that came through Clemson in the last 4 years is really helped his stock and probably helped him be the guy that he is. And that's why I'm excited, because I really do feel like we have an elite receiving core in Jacksonville. We have all the weapons that you need. We have deep threats. We have slot threats. We have the big guy, the jump ball guy. We have everything you need. We could use a tight end. So
you can grab a tight end somewhere.
Yeah, well, we got Eifert, and he wasn't doing too bad at the end of the season. Exactly. I mean, there's no way we're going to get Kyle Pitts. He's going to be a top 10 pick.
Yeah, you'll be able to draft like a 2nd or 3rd round tight end that's going to be a solid
Yeah. But
Solid
if there's
guy
any
for you.
way everybody is like doing some kind of hallucinogens during that draft and let Pitts fall to 26, I'm down.
No, Pitts is getting drafted as a wide receiver in that top 10, and they're just going to move him. Well, I mean, he'll be tight end, but they're going to play him like he's a wide receiver and
Yeah.
just have that extra wide receiver.
Oh yeah, he's going to be a lot like Zach Ertz was in Philly a couple years ago.
Yeah. And I'm excited for that too. I hope he doesn't go to one of my rivals because I'm excited to see Kyle Pitts do work. All right, what else do you have to shout out before we get out of here?
Dude, just time flies, man. I feel like I was a 5-year-old kid just watching a crazy ass man that I felt like I would probably end up being one day. And I wasn't as crazy as him, but it's just insane to think it's been 25 years since Happy Gilmore beat Shooter McGavin. Rest in peace, Chubbs, whatever his name was.
Chubbs, I think that was his name, yeah.
Rest in peace, Chubbs. But man, 25 years. And Happy still got it. He put out a tweet today to let us know he can still blast the shit out of them run-ups. I try it every time at Top Golf.
Adam Sandler's actually really good at that little – he's an athletic weirdo looking dude.
He's very athletic and does not look like it whatsoever. And I love his outfits. Like his just doesn't look like a rich man whatsoever. I love it.
No. So you just had a great shout out. You just had a great ending thing. But when you said rest in peace, I forgot of a real shout out that I wanted to do.
Oh man, yeah,
I know
dude.
that was amazing. But Vincent Jackson passed away, and of course he was a Charger, but he was also a Tampa Bay Buccaneer. I watched a lot of good years from him. I think from 2012 to 2016 or 17, and I got to see him do some good things. So. That's a really, really hurtful thing. Eddie texted me the other day that he was gone, and I was like, holy shit, he's young as fuck. Yeah, and then Eddie texted me literally like right after I said, oh shit, he's young as fuck. He said he was only 38. And I was like, yeah. And so I went and looked at it, and that's really harsh, man. And we're not that like mental health, we don't do any sort of help at all. We don't do political. We don't do mental health. We don't do any of that. But reach out to your friends, man. Just say, hey, just ask them how they're doing. Just try to be there. It's very difficult. I know like me and Seal, obviously we're here every week, but we will text each other if we haven't heard from each other in a couple of days, and we'll say like, hey man, how are you doing? And I love you for that. But just listeners, like if you're listening, just reach out, man. Just say, hey, how you doing, man? I love you, and see what can happen from that, and try to find your boy.
I saw a really cool post on Facebook. Not really cool, like, man, this is awesome, but really like a cool grasp. Somebody with like a lady, she had her makeup running down from crying. And then she had a picture of her makeup all done. And the crying was, the picture was 5 minutes before losing my shit. And then the picture was losing her shit.
Right.
So like the faces of depression, they look many different ways.
I saw that.
Yeah, if you probably won't even feel something. Just always be there for your peoples. If they're in your camp, they're in your camp for a reason. Family's family for a reason. And just always, like you said, check on your peoples, man. You never know what people are going through. You never know what people are hiding from you. And you never know how much that you've been good, man. Text really means to people.
Absolutely. And that's a hard loss, man. They're all hard losses, but obviously as a fan, I know from the sports side, that's a hard loss as well. So just check on your boys, check on your girls, check on everybody. And I know like I don't struggle with depression, and I'm very blessed. Thank you that doesn't happen. But even then, when Seal texts me like, hey bro, you good? I haven't heard from you in a couple of days. It still feels good. So I just imagine that if you are struggling, that it's even better. So do that. And shout out to Vincent Jackson and his family. Prayers up to you guys. I'm sorry. Hopefully that goes as smoothly as it can. Obviously, it's not going to go well, but as smoothly as it can. So, I mean, it's hard to follow that up. But go out from here. Check on your people. Have a good relationship with your friends. And as always, be a stud, not a scrub.